Welcome to Joy of Business with host Simone Milasas, a dynamic business leader with a difference. Simone has founded and operated many businesses from a young age and has always done business differently. Today, Simone is the worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness and travels the world presenting Joy of Business programs using access tools and empowering people to know that they can create business in a different way and make money doing it. Simone Milasas, weekly on OMTimes Radio.
Hi everyone, this is Simone Milasas with Joy of Business. Good morning from us from Australia and good afternoon to you in the US. So I'm with my awesome friend Christopher Hughes here, and today we're talking about investing with a difference. So I'd like to introduce you to Christopher Hughes, who manages and is a director of the Antique Guild, which is a beautiful, one of the most stunning antique shops I've ever seen in my life. In Brisbane, Australia. So welcome, Chris.
Well, thank you very much. And again, good morning from Brisbane, Australia.
Yeah. So listen, you've got such a different way to have a look at this with investing with a difference. Can you even talk to us a little bit about how, like what that is, investing with the difference? I mean, most people look at, you know, when they invest, it's like it's the obvious things, like, well, it might be the stock market, or, you know, it might be investing in a certain company, etc. And it's like, so what's the investing with a difference?
Investing with a difference is, it's just as you mentioned, it's not necessarily what most people expect as a traditional investment, like stocks and shares or having money in your savings account. While those things are all great and can contribute to a future and having more money, there is another way to do this, or to complement what you're already doing, that can also create massive changes for you in your financial situation and add to your wealth. For example, surrounding yourself with items that are valuable, really changes your points of view and perception about money.
You know, Chris, you know, you hear that, and it's funny because you've taught me so much. It's like you and Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, it's like have taught me, you know, a godzillion pieces of information. And one of the things I noticed years ago, I used to wear, you know, fashion jewelry all the time. It was like big, colorful, you know, looked awesome. But the thing is, as soon as I brought it, it was worth nothing. You know, it might look great. And when I heard you and Gary start to talk about, you know, buying something that had intrinsic wealth. It's like the first thing I ever bought was this smoky topaz ring. It was an antique set in 18 karat gold. And I remember looking down at my hand going, oh, this is what it's like to actually invest in something that is worth something. And it was amazing. I noticed how it did make you feel.
Right. And that is a huge part of it. It's how you feel. Like for me, while I love jewelry, one of my greatest joys is collecting silver. You know, the stuff that everyone's grandmother had that everyone thinks is too much work to polish and not that interesting. Yeah.
It is a lot of work to polish. You need a bit of elbow grease in there.
Well, I'll tell you a trick. It's not that much work if you actually take it off of the cupboard and use it.
Well, you taught me that too. It's like we actually ended up getting, oh gosh, the most beautiful cabinet from you guys not long ago. And I love the way you've got so many, like to me, it was like this beautiful wooden cabinet and you're like, yes, and this is where it was made and it's French and it's got all of this. And now we've got all of our silver in there, our beautiful, you know, Venetian glassware, and we can actually see it and we do use it. You're right. It's like, you know what, when you've got gravy in a sterling silver boat, and it's like, or you've got a, you know, sterling silver canister to put your champagne in. It's like, it has this sense of, I want to say a sense of peace for me.
Well, exactly. As I say, with your standard stocks and bonds, you can get a sense of peace and what some people call security, so to speak, if that's even a real concept, of seeing that money there. But what occurred for me was looking around, sort of like similar to you, looking around at all this silver that I had in my home. And in that particular day, I was having a bit of a bad hair day with money, and was looking and going, oh my God, I've got all these expenses. and all of these things coming up that are going to require lots of money. And oh my God, I don't have enough money. And I stopped for a second and I looked around and I went, oh, well, that's worth money. And oh, well, that tea set's worth money. Oh, well, and that, that bowl over there is worth money. And it was all based on just their intrinsic value alone. I realized that these things in my apartment were worth about $50,000 if you added it up.
So it makes you feel like you have money. Yeah.
Exactly. Totally. It's like you were saying about how it feels when you put on that ring of gold and a gemstone. It's like, oh, wait, this is really worth something. That doesn't tend to happen when you're just dining from stainless steel.
No, and you know what? Your body likes to have nice things. I mean, it's interesting. We talk about, that we might desire more money in our lives, but it's like your body is the one that likes to wear, diamonds and pearls, or your body is the one that likes to have beautiful sheets to sleep in. Or, I mean, ask your body, would it like to travel in first class or economy? It's like,
exactly.
So what if we also asked our bodies to contribute to us being able to invest with a difference? So everything that is, and everything that doesn't allow that to show up, let's destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, what the hell is that? That's that crazy access consciousness clearing statement, which you can go to my website, accessjoybusiness.com, or theclearingstatement.com and find out more about it. But it's just a tool that, gets you out of the place of the limitations that you've created, all the solidity that you've created as your life, as your points of view, and starts to change it so that you can actually have different awareness. You can function from a different place. So, which is this? It's like investing with a difference. I mean, were you taught this at school? It's like, or how did you learn about to invest with a difference, Christopher?
Well, a lot of it came actually from Gary Douglas. Gary Douglas, who is the founder of Access Consciousness, had started an antique business in Australia, and he invited me along to work with him there. And I said no. I said, no, that sounds terribly boring. I cannot imagine working with this old junk and being in a shop all day. And he said, okay. And then he said, well, what if you came along for a month just to help me out? And I said, okay, fine. Because you're my friend, I'll do a month, but a month probably isn't long enough. I'll need a couple more. And that was 3 years ago, and I'm still there, and I love every minute of it. And every day I learned something more. So it's sort of an ongoing exploration, to answer your question. That's one of the things that I find so exciting about it. Every day I learn something new about how these things can add to your life, whether they're your grandmother's china or some silver or some jewelry. They all add something really different. And what they're worth, and how I know what they're worth, is really dependent on your knowledge and your awareness. One of the greatest tools Gary Douglas ever gave me about having more money in your life, because there's a few that I've applied to business of what he uses from Access Consciousness, but one of the most interesting ones I've found is educating yourself about money. And it's like you say, you look at your cabinet and you see this beautiful timber cabinet. I've gone and researched and studied to the extent that I see all of these different elements of craftsmanship and eras and periods of design that have gone into creating this piece, and thereby what makes it rare and valuable. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I wanted to pick up on too, Chris, that you said is at the beginning when you said, it's just a shop with a lot of old junk. I must admit that one of the first antique shops I ever went into, I was like, oh my goodness, it was like I felt like I had a huge headache and there was just stuff everywhere. And it did feel like that sense of like this shop with a lot of old junk, and it felt really dusty and dirty. And I was like, I wanted to get out as soon as I walked in. And there was one shop in New Zealand. This is, of course, before I saw the antique shop that you're managing. There was an antique shop in New Zealand that I walked into with Gary, and I was like, oh my goodness, this stuff is beautiful. But of course, it's like, everything was more around the 10,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 or more. But it was absolutely stunning. And that's when I realized that it's like, instead of the point of view of like just buying old stuff, I was like, oh, this is amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. And I get the idea that it's an investment in your life. I mean, you're buying something. it adds beauty to your house. And it's like, I don't know if you can actually explain how that sense of peace with money is when you are surrounded by things that have intrinsic wealth. I think you have to give it a go to look at that. And one of the tools that we'll give you in the next segment can bring you more awareness around that. So one of the things I noticed was it was like buying something that was, if it's a $20,000 statue or something, you can most probably sell it for more at a later date. So one of the things I wanted to ask you too, it's like, do the value of things change with the taste of time?
They do, but it's amazing how that occurs. And I know we have a break coming up shortly, but just to give you a really quick example, on the weekend I was in Melbourne poking through the shops, and my friend Chutissa Bowman found this book on collecting antique jewelry, and the book was about 15 years old, and it listed all the values of different items. There was a necklace in there that she had, almost an identical one, that we'd recently valued, and the valuer said the value was $850. Well, this book listed the value 15 years ago at $150. That it was
Wow.
almost a 7 times sort of growth in its actual value in that 15-year period. So it isn't necessarily just what it is, but anything with intrinsic value like gold, silver, and gemstones will appreciate quite differently to something, say, made of timber or china or glass. It really has to do with the rarity and the value of the materials that it's made out of.
Right. Well, I bought off you a set of Mabe pearls, which, I mean, they say that Mabe pearls, the ocean doesn't make them anymore. So it's like, that's a huge investment. So one of the things we'll talk about in the next segment is what is better to invest in than other things. Give us some hints and tools.
Woohoo!
How does it get any better than this?
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
The Conscious Parenting Radio Show provides inspiration and resources for loving, empowering, and respecting your children and yourself. Join me, Timothy, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we consciously explore proven ways of living together in happiness, health, and harmony.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Hi everyone, this is Simone Milasas with The Joy of Business, which can be many different industries. Oh yeah, it can be every industry. It's like if you're committing to your life, then you can actually create a business. So I've got joined here with Christopher Hughes, all the way from Brisbane, Australia, from the Antique Guild. And we'd like to ask him about what are some of the area of antiques that's better investment than others? Like, is it furniture, gold, silver, china?
Well, it really depends on you personally. My advice in that regard is go out and find out what it is that you love. What is a nurturance to you? Like as you were saying, when you walk into your house and you have all these beautiful things, what in particular excites you? For me, it's silver. And I do love fine furniture and crystal in particular as well. But pardon me, if you have a particular interest in jewelry or in china, knowing as much as you can about that particular field is going to make the biggest difference in investing well. So my advice is go out and learn about that particular field and go from there. And once you know more, you'll know what's rare, what's more valuable than something else. And when in doubt, though, things that do have intrinsic value in the bricks and mortar of their materials, be it silver, gold, other precious metals and gems, watching them grow can also be, have a big impact on the value of the piece. It excites me every day to get up and see what is the silver price today and know that my collection is worth that much more as a result of the change in the commodity price.
Right. So it's a really different way to actually make money. It's something that you can, you can enjoy. You can drink wine out of your silver goblet. So, hey, how do people go and start to find out about antiques or buy old gold and silver? You're saying educate yourself. It's like, I know, okay, so let's do a little plug and then also talk about how people can do it. Because you've actually got a telecall coming up in regards to educating yourself about all of this. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. And actually, if people want to know more, just this past week, I did a free Google Hangout where I talked to people a little bit about what I call the elegance of living, about how this stuff can add to your life. And we'll be launching into a series in February on the 24th, a 6-part series where we go into several different aspects of antiques and collecting and give people some knowledge and tools to start doing their own research and sort of getting them familiar with antiques and collecting, and especially things like silver and gold, so they know how to identify it, how to know when it's a fake as well, and what the values of these different things might be. So that free Google taster that I did is still online. If you go to www.theeleganceofliving.com, there's a page for free taster, and that takes you to that 1 hour that I did there on Google Hangout. And so you can see some of the things that I'm talking about there.
And, I find it so interesting listening to you, Chris, talk about antiques and talk about silver. So let's talk about silver, because you've mentioned it a few times now. I know that there's some theories going around, etc., about, like drinking out of a silver goblet. I know they used to call, the royalties used to have blue blood because they were drinking out of silver. It's like, can you tell us a few little stories about some silver that makes it exciting to have it besides just having a glass of wine out of it?
Absolutely. Well, like I say, when you're having your silver goblet, it's made of sterling, which is called 925 silver. It means it's 92.5% pure silver. And silver has some incredible effects for your body. As you mentioned before, it is quite a nurturance for you. The effects range from water purification, say the water or the liquid that you're pouring into the vessel over time. It does purify it and destroy any bacteria, and it's quite good for your body. They've known that since ancient times. They used to store water and liquids in it to travel with. It also does incredible things for your immune system. People nowadays are going to health shops and buying microbial silver and taking that as a supplement for their health and their immune system.
So if you buy yourself a silver goblet, and it's like you drink your water out of it every day, drink a glass of wine out of it, it's like you're actually being healthy and investing in you.
You are doing something for your body. And it's like you said, what they used to call the blue-blooded people.
Yeah.
That phrase came about because the people that ate off silver cutlery, they had silver plates, they drank from silver vessels, their water was stored in silver jugs. They actually started to take on a bit of a blue tinge because these metals do come off and become part of the water you're drinking or whatever, even on a sort of minute level, and that builds up in the system. It wasn't that they were getting sick or anything. They just there was a buildup of that metal in their body, which also had an impact on their health, which is where the phrase "born with a silver spoon in your mouth" came from. That wasn't. That phrase had nothing to do with how wealthy you were. It had to do with how healthy you were.
Oh, I never knew that. See, you're a wealth of information.
There you go. See, you learn something every day. How exciting.
You do. Hey, one of the things I wanted to mention too, I had a friend over here recently, and she had the point of view that basically she couldn't afford to have all this silver around. And because I've got a beautiful set of silverware. It's the Joan of Arc design, and I love it. And she was looking at it, and I said, look, you know what? You can actually just go online and buy 2 pieces. You can just start. So one of the things I noticed, because I keep adding to the Joan of Arc set, like, you can order the soup spoons, or there's a crazy amount of different, silverware that they used to create. Not like nowadays, it's like a knife and a fork and a steak knife. It's like there's so many different things that they used to have. I mean, we've got some beautiful oyster forks. But she didn't realize that, go online, buy a knife and fork. Buy it for yourself and then start adding to it, because it's not as though this is not going to be around. These are antiques. They are around. They've been around for a long time.
Well, that's true. And you know what's really interesting about that as well, and again, I can talk about silver till the cows come home. I just love it so very much. But in the United States, there used to be so many companies and silversmiths out there that were producing sterling silver cutlery and flatware. Well, they're all gone. They are absolutely all defunct, or those who are still around are now only producing in stainless steel because it's much, much cheaper.
So what happened? Like, why did they disappear? Were people just not desiring it anymore? Too expensive?
Well, a lot of people aren't willing to honor themselves with these sorts of things anymore. You hear the excuses all the time of, oh, well, we're just too busy to wash it properly or polish it, or, life is go, go, go. I just need convenience. It's what has brought about things like the microwave ruling the kitchen in terms of cooking. People don't want to take the time to make a great meal or to lay a fine table for even just for themselves and their kids or their partner. So it sort of went out of vogue for a little while, and the silver price has gone up quite a bit.
Right.
But I love the point you've made, where it isn't necessarily about going out and buying a whole chest of cutlery, but why not start with, as a savings account or an investment in you, going out and buying 1 fork and 1 spoon and little bits over time. And after a year of doing that, if you look back at how many pieces you actually had, I think you'd be astounded with how much wealth you have invested in these items, and watching that grow can be fun. But it doesn't have to be a huge thing all at once.
Right. So, because one of the things, so how much would it be, like, if you were investing in like just a knife and a fork, and it's like, what sort of price would people be looking at?
Oh, you could look for a knife and a fork. You could probably do that for under $100 if you were savvy when you shopped. And like you said too, it's fun to find a pattern that you really like.
It is, because you know what? I had another silverware set, and it was given to me, and thank you. I'm very appreciative. And it's absolutely stunning, but it's a little bit plain for me. And it was interesting when I, my partner and I sort of, when we got together like 5 years ago, we literally found this one Joan of Arc that matched the energy of myself and of my partner, Brendan. It's like, so it's sort of, you could feel it contributing to both of us. And one of the things like that you were talking about, like setting the table, etc. Every night we have dinner with our silverware. We drink out of, the beautiful Venetian glasses, or we've got silver goblets as well. And one of the things that is interesting that I really has the sense that adds to my life is the linen napkins. We've got some beautiful, beautiful linen napkins that we use every night. It's like we don't, you're saying that most people nowadays sort of, it's like that, rough and ready. It's like, quick, let's eat and run sort of thing. And, I don't know, grab a paper towel, grab a paper napkin and use that. And it's like, there's an elegance of living, which is what your website is, that so adds to your life when you actually choose to honor you.
Well, and you know what? The excuse most people use is they're too busy. And I don't know anyone as busy as you. So you can take the time and sit down to a lovely meal, because I know your partner can cook. Oh boy.
Oh yes.
But if you can sit down to a meal with crystal and linen napkins and silver, then anybody can take the time. And it really is about, as I say, about honoring and nurturing you and having this elegance of living. One of my absolute favorite movies of all time is Auntie Mame. And in the movie, she keeps shouting this little slogan of live, live, live. And that's what this is about to me. What if you didn't have the best of you and the best you own on the shelf collecting dust? What if you brought it off the shelf and started using it?
Right. And one of my favorite lines from that movie, Annie Mae, I mean, it's a very old movie, is she says, the universe is a banquet and people are starving. And it's true. It's like there's so much on offer. It's like it's available. And I am incredibly busy. I have one of the busiest schedules I know. But I do make the time to invest in me. I do make the time to honor me. Now, one of the tools I spoke about in the first radio show we did on OMTimes was your 10% account. Now,
Yes.
this is an access consciousness tool. It's brilliant. And it's like it's putting away 10% of everything that you earn to honor you. It's like putting it away for you, not for a rainy day, not for when you're, in trouble, not for when you're in dire straits and you need it, not to lend to a friend. It's putting away 10% for you. Now, one of the things you told me ages ago is what you used to do is as soon as you got your 10% for the week, like everything that you earned 10%, you'd walk across the road. Luckily, you had a gold bullion place across there, and you'd buy a chunk of silver. So then you actually had to think about it. If you were going to spend the money, you had to go across to the shop again, cash it in. So how did that work for your life? How did that add to your life?
Well, Gary Douglas was talking about this tool of investing in your 10% forever. And I went, yeah. And I was always really good at creating money, but not that good necessarily at just having it and just having it sit in the bank. So I sort of fooled myself. As you say, I would go across and buy a little brick of silver, whether it was a kilogram or 10 ounces, depending on what I had in my 10% that I could invest. And as you say, I would just have to have it sit there. And it wasn't like I could go to the department store and buy a jacket with it. I just had to know what it was worth. And if I really needed to cash it in, it would be a little more effort. And usually by the time I'd done the math on how long that would take, I would sort something else out to pay what I decided was so important.
You'd actually make more money. So
Exactly.
you can use your 10% to be investing in you. You can go out and buy a knife and fork, buy a silver goblet, and start investing in you.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Katrina Kavanagh, host of the I Am Wisdom radio show. I Am Wisdom is about the connection between mind work and energy work, spirituality and living a wonderful life. Looking forward to sharing each Sunday 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with you.
Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Joy of Business with Simone Milasas and my wonderful friend Christopher Hughes from Brisbane, Australia, the Antique Guild. You can also check out his website on theeleganceofliving.com. Now, we've been talking about investing with a difference, and one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Chris, is have you ever purchased something that you made a loss on?
Very good question, Simone. In a word, no. And the reason for that is, because one of the ways that I look at this investing is, I buy things often to sell, and I'll look for things that have more value than what the seller is asking for them so that I can, sell them on and make a profit. But in doing that, I never buy anything that I wouldn't live with myself. So even if it's a lamp that I paid more for than you would probably be able to resell it, I personally, I don't think I've ever made a loss on it, because I love it so much that I'm happy to live with it, even if I never sell it for a profit, or it takes maybe 10 years before it appreciates enough that I could sell it for one.
So that's creating your life in choosing to invest in you too.
Absolutely.
Huh.
Yeah. It isn't just about it. It's not such a linear, critical view of the return on investment. One of the tools that Gary Douglas gave me with this is, he says, in every antique shop in the world, there is something overpriced and there's something way underpriced. And he says, you just have to ask your awareness and ask the items to show you what it is that could make you money and would add to your life. Because I do that too. I go and I look at things and I ask it, will you make me money? Great tool that people can go start using. You see, even if it's a shirt to whatever it is, you can ask it, if I buy you, will you make me money? And it's not so linear as, oh, well, if I buy you for $10, can I sell you for 20? Sometimes these things add to your life in a totally different way.
Yeah, it's true, because it's like, we talk about this tool of like, if I buy you, will you make me money? And for like a pair of shoes or a shirt, and it's like, it doesn't make linear sense. It's like, if I buy a pair of shoes, will it make me money? And it's like, you can ask energetically and you'll get this energetic awareness. And it's like this big yes or this big no. It's not about working it out. It's not about, going to the logical point of view of like, well, how are these pair of shoes going to make me money? And it's like, what if the next time you were somewhere and you were presenting something and people took more notice of you because of the shoes you were wearing? And it's like, that is a form of manipulation. And if you're not willing to manipulate, you'll end up being the one that's manipulated. So
absolutely,
it's a great tool. And it's like, and ask. And if you use the word truth, it's like a universal law that it's, if you say truth in front and you can say it in your head, you can say it out loud, whatever it is, it's like, truth, will you make me money? It's like, you'll get an idea of what that is. I mean, those Mabe pearls that I originally got from you, it's like they were definitely a large chunk of money. And it's like, I think they've doubled in price now because the Mabe pearls don't exist in the ocean anymore. You can't get them.
Well, what's interesting with those pearls was we went to do some maintenance on the clasp, and if you remember, I had them valued at the same time to see what the change in their price could have been. And the valuer had a particular point of view and has been in the business for about 45 years. And he put a value on it that was not that impressive. It was basically what was paid for them. And then when he went to do the repair and found out how rare they are and how difficult it is to find those pearls today compared to how it was for him to find them 20 years ago, his point of view totally changed on what they were worth.
That just makes me smile.
I know, isn't it great? It's so exciting. I mean, it's fun for you to wear it every day, and it just keeps growing and growing in value. It's like you said about, creating judgment with the pieces. I have a story about, I was checking into a flight from Brisbane to Auckland, and I have this particular diamond ring that I absolutely love. It's probably my favorite ring that I own. And I was checking into the flight, and the lady at the desk stops me and she says, "Oh my God, is that ring worth like $100,000? And I went, "Oh, no, it's only worth 80,000, which was a bit of a fib, really. I mean, it's probably a $12,000 to $15,000 item, which is still substantially valuable. But she said, "Oh, well, I'll get you a better seat. We'll put you back up in first class."
Nice.
And I hadn't said anything. I hadn't verbalized a question to her about if I could get an upgrade. She just had the point of view and the judgment of me that had come from this ring that I shouldn't be sitting back in the end of the plane.
Hey, so the ring worked for you. The ring made you money, got you an upgrade. I love it.
Absolutely.
How does it get any better than that?
Oh, exactly. Bring it on.
Exactly. Hey, Chris, when do you know is a good time to buy? Like, is it like following the stock market, or what do you look for?
Yeah, it is. another tool that Gary suggests, Gary Douglas from Access Consciousness suggests with these sorts of things is surround yourself with people who know a bit more than you. Take them out for lunch and have a conversation, see what you can find out. I'm constantly speaking with experts. I'll call members from the top auction houses in Australia and in the world who are, the top of their field, whether it be Chinese art or what have you, and learning more. Like at the moment, Chinese artifacts are off the charts valuable, worth a great deal of money.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because of a particular demand in the market. It's just knowing what's going on in the world and being aware of what's happening. Right now, China is buying back all of their artifacts because when the Cultural Revolution came in, when Mao Zedong came to power, they destroyed almost all traditional art in China because it did not fall in line with the communist propaganda. And so they sold a lot and destroyed a lot. Now they're buying it back for great deals of money.
Wow.
So if you find Chinese art out there, it can be a good idea to say, will this make me money? And if it feels light, why not give it a try? 20 years ago, Japanese art was in that same scenario. So Japanese art at the moment is relatively low because the market has shifted to China and the Japanese economy is not as strong and booming as it used to be. I'm finding some great deals out there at the moment on Japanese pieces, which to me are exquisitely beautiful. It may be more of a long-term investment because the market's not great for them at the moment. But if you can find the best of Japanese out there at a lower price, it can be something beautiful to add to your life now that may in 10, 15 years' time be worth an awful lot more. So again, it's just about following the market a little bit and finding out what you can and trying to learn, what is the market doing at the moment? Go into your local shop and ask people, what's popular right now? Is it Art Deco? Is it Crystal? Is it Victorian furniture? And going from there.
So if I was going to invest, like what would be, and I know that it's all, speculation and it's just your point of view. It's like, I remember when I was in my early 20s, and I don't know why this distinctly is a memory of mine, but I remember an ounce of gold was 400 Australian dollars. And now it's like, today's rate, I think it's about 12.75 US, which the Australian dollar is not doing too well. So it's a lot less than that. But if I always think about, like, if I wasn't partying in my younger years and playing up and doing all that stuff, if I had spent all that money on ounces of gold, imagine how much I would have made by now. And
exactly.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about is like gold, silver, platinum. It's like, what would you recommend that if someone just wants to start with buying something, or like, what's your point of view on gold, silver, and platinum?
Right. Well, again, it depends on you and where you're at. I say have a look at what you can afford to invest and go from there. Your idea of the knife and the fork is not a bad idea. Silver at the moment, again, knowing what's going on in the rest of the world and the market is valuable. It's about being aware. Right now, silver is going up because people are starting to use it in a lot of industrial applications. They're using it in mobile phone technology and all the tablets that people are buying, iPads and that sort of thing. It's getting used in solar panels. It's getting used in bandages because of its healing properties. They're starting to weave it into bandages. So all of these industrial applications are driving the price of it actually up. And it's relatively inexpensive compared to gold and platinum. As you say, an investment in gold or platinum is going to be about $1,200 to $1,300 US dollars per ounce at the moment. Alternatively, silver, you're looking at, a much smaller investment to start with. So it's not really as though one is better than the other because they do grow and fluctuate quite a bit. Platinum at the moment has been very stable for a longer period of time. There hasn't been the demand for high-end jewelry, which is the biggest application of platinum, as there has been in really booming economic times. We all know we came out of the global financial crisis, as they've called it, in the last 5 years. Some say it's still going on. Maybe it is. But as a result, platinum, not as it hasn't fluctuated as widely because there hasn't been the demand. So my tip is silver, not just because of my own bias towards it, but because of how it's being used. I can see longer term growth in that market. There are also, some people have said there's less silver available in the planet than there is gold.
Okay. Cool. So silver, and you know what I like too is like when you buy gold, like because I have ounces of gold, and like they're, an ounce is a little piece of gold. I mean, you can just put it in your pocket, which I actually carry an ounce of gold around on me at all times in my handbag. It's just like I just like having this ounce of gold. But the silver, I like the way you have like these little bricks, like it's little blocks of silver, so it makes you feel like you've got even more. Like it's fun. That's my point. It's like, what if investing with a difference and investing in you was actually fun for you?
Exactly.
Like, what could that look like? And it's like, play with it. I mean, even going and buying, a gold necklace or something, and use your 10% to do it. If you don't have extra money lying around, it's like, use your 10% to do it. So it's like, if you've got to wait 3 months to get it, the amount of money that you can use to go buy that, then wait 3 months. And then you're wearing this beautiful gold necklace or, beautiful gold bracelet or whatever that is. But that's an investment in you using your 10%. It's an honoring of you. And it's like, have you ever been taught to honor you? And that's one thing I'd love everybody to get, because it's like if you start to honor you and it's like you commit to your life. I mean, this is the joy of business. If you commit to your life, it's like then you can actually commit to your business, which is committing to your financial reality. It's like, what's your financial reality like? What's your current, financial reality like, and what would you like it to look like? I mean, I know mine has changed drastically over the years. I used to be $187,000 in debt 14 years ago when I met Gary, and it's like, Christopher, I've known you for quite some time too, and it's like, I know your financial reality has changed. And the one thing I do know is all of this stuff of investing with a difference, the gold, the silver, the jewelry, has definitely added to both of our lives.
Absolutely.
Also add to your life. How does it get any better than this? See you soon.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Radio Namaste leads you down the yellow brick road into portals of consciousness with the blue collar goddess as your host. Interviews with humans who could be famous or just popular, and answers to everything are on the agenda. Tune into OMTimes Radio and drop in on Thursdays at 3 Eastern. It's a different brand of enlightenment.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hey everybody, this is Joy of Business with Simone Milasas, and you're joined here with our guest, Mr. Christopher Hughes from Brisbane, Australia, from the Antique Guild. Now, one of the things I love coming to visit you, Chris, at the Antique Guild.
I love it when you come to visit.
Besides the fact that if you, most of the time you're willing to offer me a glass of champagne, and it's so lovely. You've got this amazing furniture around there. And, sitting down, I love sitting in the rooms that you've got. There's like about 6 different rooms. And it's like sitting in these beautiful pieces of furniture that I must say, old furniture is definitely way more comfortable than modern furniture. You hardly ever come across modern furniture that that is as comfortable as antiques. So, and you're sitting in a room and it's like, I can look for hours. It's like at what you have around there because it's filled with so much stuff. And I always love your stories that you have. I mean, I've purchased some chairs there. It's like for my partner's man cave, and I bought jewelry. You used to have this beautiful Italian dining room table there that was absolutely stunning. I mean, I think it was worth over 100,000, wasn't it?
It was actually worth $250,000.
$250,000, and we sat there and had some champagne on it. And it's like, so talk to me a little bit about that. See if we can paint that visual for the people listening.
Well, that table in particular was one of my all-time favorite things, and we get amazing things all the time. Again, it's actually owned by Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, the business, and he has been buying and selling for 50 years and collecting things. So he sends the most. It's like Santa Claus has come every day. There's always a package arriving, and you open the box, and there's something new and magical inside. We have a cabinet there that was in the White House. We had that table for $250,000. It was a hand-painted Baroque Italian table by an artist called Erullo Eroli, and his paintings alone tend to sell for, at the top auction houses in the world, if you go to Christie's or Sotheby's in London, you can expect a painting of his to go for, between $120,000 to $150,000. And he painted the entire top of the table, and each of the 12 chairs was meticulously painted by this man. And it is such a joy. And, so many people would look at it and go, oh, we can't sit at it. We can't actually use it. But, oh my, yes, you can, because it creates this intimacy amongst the people sitting there. When else are you going to have that feeling of opulence and decadence and luxury than treating yourself to an experience like that?
Which is what they used to do years and years ago. I mean, one of my recommendations is going into your grandparents' house and have a look at it with a different eye. It's like, instead of looking around going, oh, they've probably got all this old stuff. And it's like, what do they have there that has intrinsic value? It's like, recently I was at my parents' house, and I was just talking to my mom in one of her sitting rooms, and she's got this beautiful Venetian glass dessert set that she got, I think, in the 80s from Venice, Italy. And it's absolutely gorgeous. It's like, hand blown with, gold, inlaid gold in it, etc. She ended up giving it to me that day, which I was totally shocked and very grateful. And it's like, now I have it in my beautiful cabinet. But it's like, it's absolutely stunning. And that sort of thing has that intrinsic wealth and that investment in you and the investment in your life.
Well, can I just tell you, to me, I watch a lot of auctions. To me, going to an auction or watching them online is like the Super Bowl meets market research. I just love it. I get such joy out of it. And last night, I'm here in Brisbane, and last night I watched an auction in New York that started at 1 a.m. my time and ran to 7 a.m. And I watched the whole thing. And there was a set of Venetian glass that reminded me of yours that went for $4,000 US.
Nice. How does it get any better than that?
Exactly.
It makes you smile. Hey, listen, what sort of, if someone just wants to go on and play and watch something like that so that they can get a feel of it, because this is, I mean, I never knew about any of this. Like I said, when I first met Gary, like when I first met you, I was buying, fashion jewelry, and it's like I didn't have any of this in my life. And I've noticed the change. I've noticed how my whole entire life has completely changed. But I didn't know about it before, so I had to educate myself. And luckily, I had some wonderful friends who were willing to educate me and have fun doing it. I love sitting around with you, having a glass of wine, and you start to go into the stories of what everything is. So if someone wanted to just have a look at one of those auctions, can they just go to a website and have a look at that, or how does that work?
Yeah, and actually, well, again, shameless plug. On my Google Hangout series starting in February, there's going to be 6 calls, and on one of them, we're going to be debunking auctions and giving you some inside tips on how they work and how to make them work to your advantage. Because I remember going to my first auction and actually being quite intimidated and thinking, oh my God, if I sneeze, I'm going to accidentally spend thousands of dollars. All of these things that come up for you.
Oh, that's funny. Because you think, I'm not going to move my hands, I'm not going to do anything, which in actual fact, when you go to an auction, they usually give you, a pallet or whatever, so you have a number, so you actually have to be staring that up. But you think, if I look sideways, I'm going to buy something. I
Yeah.
bought a house.
And there's lots of tricks, but there are websites out there that plug into auction houses around the world, and some of them are quite good. Like if you collect a certain thing, like say for example your Joan of Arc silver pattern, you can enter that as an alert on their website, and they will every time some Joan of Arc comes up, they'll let you know.
Okay, cool, fun. I need you to show me how to do that after we finish this show.
Yeah, it's called invaluable.com, and it's a great site. Goes to a lot of different auction houses across the world, and you can sort of watch them live. Great idea to know what some things are worth. It's where I base a lot of my knowledge off of. But again, I'd love to invite people to even check out the free taster that I have on the elegance of living, so that they can get a little more of that. Because the more knowledge you have going in, the easier it is to buy stuff worth a lot of money. Just to give you a funny story, there was a guy with his mother cleaning out his garage, and his mom was going to throw out this old teapot. It was black. It was unbelievable. And he said, no, wait, Mom. I'm going to bring it to those boys at the Antique Guild on my way to university and see what they think it is. And he brought me this teapot, and we turned it over and looked at the marks on the bottom of it. And we went, wow, this is a solid silver teapot made in England in the 1780s. And it's worth thousands.
Wow.
And she was about to throw it out because she didn't have the knowledge or the awareness of what it could possibly be worth. The kid, thankfully, had the awareness to ask a question and go, hey, what if? And did some digging. So I just wanted to give you that story as well, because you had asked about, some of my favorite things or favorite stories about how some of this can...
No, that's great, because if you're not educated about it, how do you know about it? And what if it was fun to educate yourself? Like, what if it wasn't about getting it wrong or right? I mean, last year in London, I went to Bonham's auction house with Gary Douglas and Stephen Chichester Bowman, who I'll have on my show in the future. And it was so much fun. I mean, first of all, we went across and had caviar and champagne at Harrods, and then went to the Bonham's auction. And it was so much fun to literally look at the jewelry, look at what was available. And they were looking to sell at the Guild and see what could make them money. And if you're willing to listen, the pieces will actually speak to you. And they bought all of this jewelry, and when they walked out and they bought it, the guy actually said, wow, I've never seen anyone get such a good deal on so many pieces in one day. And it's like, that's because they were willing to actually function from their awareness. So what if there was no right and there was no wrong? It was just your awareness. And what if your awareness was completely different to somebody else's? So this is what I'd like to ask too. It's like, how many lifetimes have you had? And how many lifetimes did you know more? I mean, look at you, Christopher. It's like, how many lifetimes did you deal with silver? Were you a silversmith, or were you just royalty ordering it and knew, what to order, like what to have in your house? And it's like, so if you're willing to access your awareness on every single lifetime, with all the furniture, the gold, the silver, the china, the Japanese stuff, all of it. And it's like, what awareness could you have in this lifetime that could actually make you money? So everything that is, and everywhere that you've been refusing to acknowledge that you know way more than what you think you know, will you destroy and uncreate it?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. There was, when my niece was younger, she was about 5, and they brought this beautiful carpet at a market. Right? And my mother came along and said to her, oh, Ellen, this is so beautiful, this carpet. Where did you get it from? Where's it from? That was her question. And Ellen looks at the carpet and then looks at my mum and goes, London. And Mum went, oh, don't be silly. It's not from London. You bought it from down the road. And I thought, oh, no, this kid actually knew. She was looking at the carpet and going from her awareness, and she said, London. And then somebody, an adult who usually comes along and disavows your knowing, tells you, no, you got it down the road. And it's like, what if you were willing to just ask and go, okay, so what do I know about gold? What do I know about silver? What do I know about China? What do I know about antiques that I haven't been willing to acknowledge, that if I did acknowledge it, could show up as an investment in me?
Exactly. And what have you already got in the cupboard? Like you were saying, you went to your mom's house. and that lady who had the teapot sitting in her garage.
Exactly.
What treasures have you got before you that you've never really had a close look at?
that you can go ask your parents for, your grandma from. Hey, grandma, you using that silver set?
Yeah. Mind if I had a look?
Look, I brought you a chocolate cake.
Well, that's one of the things where a lot of antique dealers make a lot of money is they buy things off of the grandkids who are selling their grandmother's or their parents' estate and don't know what they have.
Right. So we're almost closing here, but I'd just like to mention again that, and if you also want to check out the Antique Guild, it's obviously in Brisbane, Australia. It's at a wonderful, wonderful location in Edward Street. Absolutely stunning shop. But you can also go to theantique.com.au, okay? So it's a .au for Australia. And you can check out the pieces online. You can join up for their newsletter, which they send out really informative pieces of news about, silver, because Christopher loves silver, and China, and different things that you can start to educate yourself on. So it's theantiqueguild.com.au. I got that right, didn't I, Chris?
You did, theantiqueguild.com.au.
Okay.
And we do have our blog on there, or journal, has a lot of information.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so if you want to know more, that's a really easy way to start educating yourself. And I just wanted to make it clear that with your series that you have starting very, very soon, it's a Google Hangout. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that you actually get to show pieces on there.
Yes.
So which can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I get to show people examples. Every different hangout will have a different theme, and we're inviting the participants on the call as well to send in items they have, so we can explore those too.
Cool. So check it out. Thank you, Christopher Hughes, for joining us on Joy of Business. See you next time.
Thanks, Simone.